Okay, everyone, good evening.
Evening.
Welcome to this
Evening.
virtual meeting of the Community and Environment Committee, Tuesday the 23rd of June 2020, an eventful year. First item is to receive apologies for absence and acceptance, please.
We have an apology for absence from Councillor Lewis, who's got another meeting tonight, and a substitute Councillor Wallace is in his place. Are we all happy to accept that? Can I just run through if that's okay? Yeah. Councillor Best? Councillor Best, is that okay? Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Councillor Shelton?
No problem.
Councillor Stapleton arrived yet? No. Councillor Maureen Stockwood?
Yes.
Councillor John Stockwood?
Agreed.
And Councillor Tony Wallace?
Yes, happy with that.
Okay, thank you, councillors.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest this evening, please? Wave your hand if you have. No, okay. Item 3 is to sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of May. Take it you've all read them?
Yeah.
Is it your wish that I sign them when I get the opportunity?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going for
The only thing to note to the committee is that they haven't obviously been to full council for acceptance and resolution on that. So it is just formally accepting the minutes is just as a comment more than anything.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're not having a formal vote on that one then.
Joe, you're muted.
Who?
I can see everybody apart from Councillor Best. Is she in agreement with the minutes, Councillor Purdy-Horan?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, councillors.
Item 4 is to receive an update on the outstanding decisions and consider further actions. From that, I had a long list last time, which some are actually on the agenda tonight. So the first one was the council worked with the Bingham Community Events Group to organise an additional event to thank the NHS carers and volunteers to be held when people of all ages can participate. Any further news? That's still.
No, we're waiting for obviously guidelines to change first. So we're starting work on the Christmas fair at the moment. Thank you.
2 on that list is the additional event is funded by the Bingham Community Events Group, using unspent funds from the previously given grant for the VE Day event and funds from the Town Council's other events budget. That was a recommendation put forward from that last meeting. Item 3 on that list was the council promote Silver Sunday, which is October the 4th, via the website, social media and other publications, encouraging the Bingham community to organise events. Does anyone know if anyone's come forward yet?
We've put it on the website, Councillor Stockwood. So if councillors wish to share it to social media, we obviously haven't got that facility at the office. We haven't had anybody come forward to ourselves yet, and we've been unable to put it in the printed publications because obviously they're not being delivered out at the moment, the Buttercross. But as soon as that's up and running again, we can promote it in there.
Right, I have been by telephone calls in touch with various people and trying to encourage them. So we will see what's available at the next full council. 4, 5 and 6 bullet points on those recommendations are on the main agenda, as are 7, 8 and 9. So number 10, a further report on the budget details to be provided to the June. I think that's on the meeting, isn't it, as well? 11, the emergency plan update is completed with local information immediately. Have we been able to progress any of that?
I put the open date option with the clerk, but I've not heard any feedback since, Madam Chairman.
Yeah, I've certainly put the date out. I think I've invited the councillors a few times and I haven't had much response to it at all. So certainly not enough to set up a date. I
think we need to go ahead with who can vote, meet and try and take this forward, please.
I'll send, we can see if we can get another email out with Rowan being available once again. I can pick that up and we can, get an. Sorry, a bird's just hit my.
Oh dear.
Yeah. My windows. So yes, I can get an email out to chase councillors up to see about going ahead with the emergency plan.
Thank you. Right, the next bullet point was apply for a local resilience store grant from Rushcliffe Borough Council to store items locally.
Yeah, that action's with the office at the moment and the person that we need to speak to is on holiday, so we'll be picking that up with them next week.
Thank you. And items, the last 2 bullet points have joined together: promotion of the flood warden scheme and flood signage via the council's website, social media and other publications, encouraging the local community to join the schemes.
That's an action that's sat with me currently.
Thank you. And the ground staff join the flood warden and flood signage scheme so that they can receive the relevant training for use during their working hours.
Yeah, that's part of the action sitting with me, Maureen.
Thank you. Okay, that's item 4. Item 5 on the main agenda is to consider the late summer planting of the marketplace flower towers in conjunction with the sponsor. We've had a long letter from Mr. Buckingham, haven't we?
Yes, we have. Mr. Buckingham is obviously somewhat aggrieved as to what's happened with regard to the flower towers. When I met with him earlier in the year, obviously we were in lockdown and I spoke to him about doing summer planting, which he was agreeing with, absolutely in support of, but had no access to plants or anything else. So the agreement was we would carry on watering, which we did do, and then the watering wasn't continued. The flowers obviously died. Tony, by his own admission, Tony Buckingham doesn't go through the marketplace very often, so he wasn't aware of this. He's somewhat incensed that obviously he advertises his funeral business and there's dead flowers in the flower towers. So I think for the committee this evening, there are 2 issues to address in terms of how do we make good and keep our sponsor on side and make sure that we send an apology to him for what's happened and give him the assurance that it won't happen again and the flower towers will be watered and will be deadheaded and will be looked after in accordance to how everybody would want the flower towers to look on the marketplace, given they're in such a central place. And then secondly, obviously, given that we're at the end of June now, Mr. Buckingham's saying, he's quite happy to receive those assurances from us. And if he accepts those, he's, will consider continuing the sponsorship, but doesn't feel as though he should pay for all of the plants to put in the flower towers, given they're, you know, they're not going to, you know, be in bloom for the full length of the summer, essentially. So he's looking to the town council to partly pay for those plants as kind of way of redress. And then I think the third element of Mr. Buckingham's letter, we'd need to consider that under policy and resources. So I'm asking committee basically two elements of it. How do we make redress to our sponsor, and would we consider subsidising the cost of the plants so that the flower towers could be planted up, because currently they're empty?
So can I just clarify that, please? Is that late summer planting, and then we would be going on to winter planting?
Yes, I think if we can get the summer plants potentially to, you know, extend and then go into winter, that would be great. But at the moment, this is about the summer planting. So we've got something in the flower tower. So, you know, we're colourful on the marketplace, and, you know, what we can do as a council to assist the sponsor and make good for what has happened.
So you're saying that is going to policy and resources for the funding of that?
No, I think if committee was inclined to, because we've got a budget, there is an existing budget for the planting, you know, we could take it out of the budget. You know, the budget is quite healthy, so we could certainly tap into that as a committee to get things underway. And in terms of the actions around the watering and some of Mr. Buckingham's other concerns, they would go to policy and resources.
Right, thank you. I certainly agree personally that a letter should be sent to him. You obviously have acknowledged his letter to start with.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Possibly explaining the circumstances. And how does the committee feel about, you know, money coming out of the fund? The amount. Do we know the amount we're talking about?
Sorry, I did ask Mr. Buckingham, and he said he believed that the total cost to plant up is probably between £400 and £500 for the plants. You know, he's quite prepared to put the manpower in, so it would just be assistance with regard to the purchasing of the plants.
And your budget's £2,000 for floral. Yeah.
And so far we've not spent any of that. No. Well, it sounds a viable proposition to me.
If I might.
No. Oh yes.
Thank you. I've read the letter, and it is a bit disappointing, and it will be disappointing, Mr. Buckingham, with what has happened. I would have no objection at all to us, as a gesture of goodwill, picking up that cost in terms of council. I feel it's the least we can do, to be honest with you, and it makes the square look an awful lot better than it might otherwise do. So I'd be quite supportive of that.
Thank you very much. So that's a proposed recommendation. Thank you. Seconder for that?
I'll second that, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Is everyone agreed that's on the committee?
Agreed.
Yeah, can I take a vote if that's okay, please, councillors? Councillor Best?
Agreed.
Councillor Shelton?
Agreed.
Councillor Stapleton? Councillor
Muted,
Stapleton joined us.
Wayne, you're muted.
Councillor Stapleton, can you hear?
Yes.
I agree. Thank you, Councillor Stapleton. Councillor Maureen Stockwood?
Agreed.
Councillor John Stockwood?
Agreed.
And Councillor Tony Wallace?
Yes, agreed.
Thank you, councillors.
Thank you. And to reaffirm that we will send a letter to that effect, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. we'll move to item 6. It's to consider the Christmas lighting quotations. I made a little note about this. If I find the right piece of paper. Circumstances have been against us this year in getting all these together, with not being able to meet, and some of the staff in some of the companies have been furloughed, so we have not been able to progress as much as we have. However, we have got 3 quotes in, and unfortunately they've come in rather hard to follow and not quite like to like, like for like rather. Well, first of all, we've very lately had this afternoon a bit of an update from the Deputy Clerk on Blashare's quote that excluded some things, and there will be additional money on that one. What's the views of committee members? I must stress that we are getting behind in getting any company to come. These quotes only last for a certain amount of time, so we must move on this, please. So give me your thoughts, please. Everybody quiet this evening? Okay.
Madam Chair, Councillor
Right.
Stockwood.
Yes, Councillor Stockwood.
Well, as you say, there's different options in each one. I particularly think that with regards to the options, the suggestion of perhaps finding a way to put some lights next to our clock on the frontage of Eaton Place is something that could be investigated. I think there's, from what I've heard, comments around Bingham, people like the curtain of lights around the Buttercross, so any scheme should have that done, and of course decorated tree. So you know, those the key elements. Building on that, it has fundamentally changed the market square. All the large trees that we used to hang lights on have been cut down and replaced with much smaller trees, and this means that going forward we will have to consider something different. There are some suggestions around decorating the tree on next to copper on the corner where the old telephone boxes used to be. At least one's, I think, perhaps still there. I don't know now. And the co-op corner. So, but what we've experienced before is that although pictures make these lighting effects look quite impressive, the reality is that tree on the corner, especially where the old telephone boxes were, is very, very large. And we'd have to think carefully about whether we have enough lights within that tree, such as that, to make it noteworthy. Otherwise, it'll just be lost in the vastness of the tree. So I think there's some core elements I particularly like: the Buttercross decorated, the tree decorated, our motifs up. I think whoever gets the contract really needs to continue to put up the motifs that we've got, as they were, bought specially. And I think the option that I quite like is of the new stuff is perhaps a little bit of decoration at the top of Eaton, the frontage of Eaton Place, or tie in that element of shopping in with the town centre, along with the trees that we'll have on the other separate buildings, so that perhaps the scheme blends the cool white with the warm white into a united decoration for the season. Thank you. That'll be my thoughts on the matter.
Thank you.
If I might, Madam Chair, please.
Yes, Councillor Wallace.
Thank you. I find myself agreeing with Councillor Stockwood, the warm light and the cool light. It was very artistic, actually. I think I'm quite happy with what John was proposing there. The one question I had actually was around the lights that would be positioned on copper. Would we expect a contribution from copper towards that? What's the position with that? Because it is a commercial business, isn't it?
Yes, I think I can answer that one. I think it's a suggestion for Copper to decorate their own building. We are only interested in doing the marketplace and our own trees. I know that Ms. Hutchinson is with us this evening, so I would like to suspend standing orders and get her thoughts. She's been heavily involved in with us meeting the companies. So all agreed that I can suspend standing orders? Okay.
Yep.
Thumbs up.
Agreed.
Thank you. Thank
Agreed.
you.
Thank you, councillors.
Mrs. Hutchison.
Yes. Would you like my opinion? I think the reason that Copper, where we asked all the contractors coming out to look at the whole of the market square, was that one of the main complaints from residents is that there just isn't enough there, but it would never ever be for the council to pick up that tab. It would just to uniform things and give them ideas and suggestions that they may, if they went out to contract, it would cost them a lot more money, but because you had a contract in place and the contractors were there, it could save them money.
Okay.
I think the prices that are coming in would be too high for any commercial business to do it.
Thank you.
The 3 contracts that have came in, I mean, they are what they are. Are they really creative? I don't really think they are, but they don't have much to work with. So unless you're going to increase your budget massively and put different things in place that they can create, then you've got to take what they're offering and pick the best out of it, I'm afraid. I mean, me, I would just ask for more money. You have to, for me, you have to take on board that as much as a visual for the residents of the community, for the businesses who need it to look really nice for commercial reasons. If you want to make anything for the commercial side of it, you do need to put a bigger investment in it. But that's your council, not mine, but just my advice.
Thank you. Reinstate standing orders. I think we have a budget. Personally, I'd like to stick as close as we can to that this year. We are in a bit of a quandary as to, it's a bit of a pick and mix situation that we've got from these 3 quotes. None of them is quite satisfactory. One omitted the tree, and that's got to be added on. One went rather over the top with what we want. So if the committee's in agreement, I'd still like to have one further meeting with including Mrs. Hutchinson and the clerk and well, Joe, who is usually handling this, myself and the mayor, to pull together exactly what we want and take that forward to full council, which regrettably, you know, is at the end of July. Would members agree to that?
Yes.
I agree, Madam Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne?
Yes.
We're happy to continue working on it as we have been. That's fine, councillors. Don't need a vote on that. We're not recommending a vote, so that's fine.
Right, thank you. Okay, let's get those notes out the way. Off the agenda. Oh, and the next item 7 is to receive a budget for the Christmas 2020 fair, which I think has been sent out to everyone. There's still a lot of estimations and what have you, but if you go to the expenditure likely to be, that's £9,000. We might get income in of 3.5, hopefully, and the net cost to BTC is 5,500. Any thoughts on that, please, from anyone?
Madam Chairman, I think that's a good idea to try and stick within the budget and as close to it as we can. And what you're suggesting is, I think, is reasonable.
Okay, that's the actual budget for that day.
Councillors, if I pulled the budget together for you, majority of the large costs are obviously quoted, so it's the small costs that can fluctuate slightly, but it's as exact as we can be at this stage. But obviously, just to make you aware, normally the net cost to BTC is for both events, but obviously this year with not having the summer fair and the additional Saturday event, we're still sort of pulling it in. Instead of the summer fair, it's sort of moving your budget over to that Saturday event for the PA and stage hire that you've agreed to this year. But if you've got any questions, then please let me know.
That's actually item 8 is to note the cost for the stage, electrics and PA for the Christmas 2020 fair.
Yes.
Including the event the following day.
Yeah.
So
I've included them in the budget so that you can just see what it's going to be.
Any comments on that from members of the committee? All right, thank you. We will. That was item 8, which was noted that. Item 9 is to agree the civic awards arrangements for 2020-21 civic year. Just remind councillors that last year we sort of advertised them in October, I believe. Was it?
Councillor Stockwood, I think we've missed noting the cost of the stage and electric as number 8 after the budgets.
Well, I thought that was included, really. Okay.
My apologies, that's fine. We just noted it all. Absolutely fine. My apologies.
It's okay. I was sort of grouping them together as they both
Absolutely
applied.
fine, no problem.
And to agree these civic awards. Now, am I right in thinking it was last October that we first asked for nominations? Well, it was around about that time, and
yes.
We're fingers crossed that, you know, perhaps the Buttercross will be coming out as things are easing, and you know, we have also got our website, and if necessary, sort of our own social media and things to start the ball rolling in October for a similar arrangement that we judge the entrance.
February you held the event last year, so obviously a lot of time to get there, but I just wanted to check that we're sort of on a similar time scale at the moment, but you know, unless things change.
I mean, it really is hopeful that there's no spikes in this area of the virus and everything continues, but I think it's good to be planning. Councillor Wallace.
No, I'm just saying that I'm happy with that.
Oh, thank you. I know you wanted to speak. Okay. Right. So that's we've agreed those. So any do you require a formal vote on that?
No, I think it was just to make sure that we're following the same format as we have done previously, just for us to note. So that's fine.
That's what I thought. So thank you very much for that. Item 10 is to consider the storage of tables for community events.
I think there's been
I haven't heard anything further on this.
I'm not sure whether you want to allow the member of the public to say what this is all about, but certainly we have spoken about the storage of benches in our yard and where they can be placed. So, but the reasons around it are obviously with Mrs. Hutchison. So
Thank you. Mrs Hutchinson, if I suspend standing orders, did you wish to speak to this item?
Yeah, fine.
Thank you. Suspend standing orders.
Okay, noted.
Okay. Well, obviously for some of you will be aware that Bingham as a community were gifted tables and benches from Wallenfells who were twinned with. The, let's say, looking after of them has been given to the Twinning Association, but they're stored on a farm, and there is some down at Bingham Town Sports Club, but when events happen it's very, very difficult to get them together due to restrictions of transport and other things. So we're asking that for the month of August to allow us to either help businesses who may be going out on the market square, such as the City and Steam, and if we can get the go-ahead as Bingham Community Events to hold some events throughout the weekends of August, Friday and Saturday evenings, then the tables and benches are centralised in Bingham to cut down on costs of transport and just collection.
Thank you. And have you got those dates booked for the square?
For August,
Yes.
we're in discussions with Rushcliffe Borough Council, but we can't get 100% go ahead at the moment due to the restrictions. Because it's pubs are opening, it's numbers, everybody's waiting for numbers.
Thank you. Thank you. We reinstate standing orders. Now it's mainly going to impinge on the staff. So what is this position, please?
There is an area in the yard that can be provided. Obviously, it'll be outdoors. We have got no indoor storage for them, so they'll need some sort of tarpaulin or something putting over them to protect them. But there is space in the corner of the yard as it's only for a month. I'm sure the ground staff are saying they're happy to work around it for the month of August. Oh,
Thank you.
Clark's
Town Clerk.
I'm sorry, could I possibly ask, I'm going to ask this question. Whose insurance is this going to be on, please? Are these tables and benches insured? Do we need to be including the, what's the arrangement here if, they went walkabout?
Whoever borrows them is responsible for them, so you're not borrowing them, we are for the community.
Right, so they're just literally being stored.
That's it, yeah.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's essential that they do have weatherproofing. We can have some awful storms in August as well as recently. Right, Councillor Wallace. Sorry, you're muted.
My apologies, I was chanting away to myself. I was just saying, count yourself lucky you're not in Glasgow. We get some terrible storms up there. And it was just picking up on the clerk's comment, and I was about to ask this pretty much the same thing. I take it that the area that we're talking about is quite secure and there's no chance of the stuff going walking.
It isn't, and obviously it's a yard. So there's the tall gates which are padlocked. So we haven't, certainly in the 5 years that I've been there, had any problems with that gate. But could somebody climb over? Yes, they could climb over if they wanted to. But they're high, and there's high walls on the other side. So you'd have to physically climb in to the yard to be able to access them. And then we have got residents that live down the side of the driveways as well, which would I would hope that they would spot tables being carried over the large gate.
And I certainly know I've lifted some of those tables and benches, and there'd be some mean feat of weightlifting because they are very heavy. Yeah.
I suppose we did have somebody pull a cash machine right out of a wall once. Strange things have happened. However, I mean, subject to that, if we're all content that it's secure enough, I would have no objection to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think especially given what it is as well, you know, tables and benches. Sorry, that's not to, you know, diminish that they're on loan and they're being stored in there, but it's, you know, it's not a cash machine where we're going to be storing for a month. Yeah.
Not a bonfire season. Anyway,
I think
so
Councillor Shelton's indicating.
yes, sorry, Councillor Shelton.
Just maybe being flippant, I think if they're as heavy as they are, unless it's a group of very strong people, they might be doing themselves injuries to try and even push them to go over the gate.
Right. Okay, any further comments, anybody? No, and we all agreed on that. It's not a
Can I
formal
just,
vote, it's for the staff to really.
Councillor Williams, can I just ask a question? Sorry.
Yes.
I don't know if I, not being on the committee or anything, need to declare an interest in this because of them being from the twinning and being involved, but just want to make sure that there is sufficient space in the yard because, of course, we're stacking these benches and that. I don't know where kind of what's been explained to with the storage, that there's a method of stacking them.
I'd be better at doing that because it's obviously me that's went and looked. Obviously, I'm used to storing the benches because I store half of them in a container at Butfield that me and Graham obviously got through one of our contacts, so that they could be there for the use of the community easier. There is more than enough room in the yard to store them. It's not an issue to store them. It's long term, it wouldn't be ideal in the yard, but on a short term basis, there's more than enough room.
That's fine. I just didn't want them to be stacked too high, and that's the fault because of how many there is. Yeah, that's fine. And also, as a note, I do have some in my back garden as well.
Yeah, that's from your back garden, Gareth. That's where you're party.
Yeah, for twinning barbecues, but I've still got them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want me to.
It depends on numbers if needed, but it's just aware that there's about 2-3 sets and 2 tables in back garden.
Yeah, I'm being mindful that this might not actually happen. It's a plan that wants to be put in place, but may not happen. So
yeah.
Right.
Thank you.
Are you wanting to come back? You've still got your little hand up, Councillor Wallace. No, Williams, I mean.
I've lowered it now.
Your name's not showing very well on my screen. It's against a white window. Okay, well, there seems to be general agreement on that we go ahead if required, and no responsibility, I think it's called.
Assistant group, yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you, councillors.
Okay, right. Item 11 is to note the purchase of new walkie-talkies for community events.
Yes, so obviously this has happened on a number of occasions over the years that we've had issues with the walkie-talkies. We have had some recommendations from a gentleman from the community events group of what they use down for the BFest event to make sure we're getting something that's fit for use. With the earpieces, because a lot of the time, especially on a busy fair, when we've got the walkie-talkies on our waist or in our pocket and it's raining and we can't hear it being called. So they're coming in around £100 to £120 for 4. So obviously we'll be purchasing 8 from obviously the budget to be able to replace what we've got. The ones we've got are quite aged. Fail the majority of the time, as the community events group witnessed at Christmas. So it's something that obviously I know we spoke about before, and I know some of the councillors from county and etc. have said about, you know, grants to the council before for it, but looking at the costs there, it's going to be under £250, hopefully nearer 200 for the purchase of 8, and at least we know that they are the ones that have been used before down at BFest. So we've gone on recommendation. So
thank you. Right, a lot of thumbs up going. Any comments from anyone? Which budget does that come out of, please?
That will be coming
Office
out.
budget. Office supplies.
No, it'll be coming out of either the one of the events budgets, or potentially it will come under, more likely under the depot equipment, because obviously that'll be used, you know, for the ground staff as well, not just for events if they're in locations down the linear walk, etc. So the likelihood is it'll come out of the depot budget is probably the most appropriate, because it's a part of equipment that they will use.
Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, that one was just a note. Item 12 is we have 3 items of correspondence, please. I haven't seen these, I don't think.
The clerk has the correspondence. I'll let her lead with that.
Yeah. I thought I'd attach the 3 pieces of correspondence. Am I doing these in the right order? Is this the Fossway cycle one, the first?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. That was just to let you know about a gentleman had written in about a near miss. He's obviously a keen cyclist, and he's raised concerns about this junction before coming off the old Fossway. And as I say, he'd come off his bike, you know, scrapes, grazes, but obviously he was concerned. He seems very active in the cycling community in terms of promoting safety and getting people on their bike. And obviously, given the number of people at the moment who are cycling around and starting to decide to commute, he is concerned about that junction. I passed his query on to County Councillor Neil Clark to ask if he wanted to pick it up with Via, and I understand he has done that. So basically at the moment it is just to make the committee aware of what action has been taken. I was also going to contact the Bingham Growth Board and Catherine Evans, because I know there's certainly an initiative to keep driving forward, forgive the pun, with regard to cycle paths and safe ways for cyclists to progress. So I'll send that through as well so that they're aware of it. So if there is available budget and we know that there is a problem with that crossing, they may look at that to make sure that it is made as safe as possible. And I know I've certainly come that way on my bike a few times, and it is a bit of a, you know, you take your life in your own hands crossing there on your bike.
Which bit is it exactly, please?
So you come up the old Fossway, and then as you, so I'd be obviously coming up to Cropwell Bishop, so it's crossing there, and cars can just zoom out, you know. So it's either coming across the actual Old Foss crossing. The whole crossing, to be fair, Maureen, is not a great crossing with a bike.
No,
Yeah.
It hasn't written into me, but before lockdown, one of the members of church said he cycles to work around that island, and it's dangerous, and actual lorries have been parking over part of the cycleway that's there. So, you know, it's...
Sorry, that's just my hand to the Baskerville.
Okay, right.
I wonder if I
Like
might,
a question.
just on that, I actually cycle that myself quite a lot, and I understand exactly what he means. We've got lights on the other part of the junction, but what I have noticed, and I don't know if it's because of the lockdown, but there's lots and lots more families out cycling around that way, and people with young children, so it definitely is a concern. I know exactly what he's talking about. I approach it with caution, because you're really coming to the end of day 46, but nevertheless it is a bit of a scary place to cross.
Once you've committed, you've just got to keep on going and just hope for the best. Yeah.
Okay, and the second one is building noise from the former police station.
Yes, this is a resident of Beaver Vale Grove who is a key worker and has a newborn baby as well. So he complained about the extended work that's going on the care home, because of course builders have been allowed to work later because of obviously lockdown and catching up. So there's been a lot of toing and froing to try and resolve this issue, because obviously the man wants to get as much sleep as he possibly can. So we have made some progress with it. The site manager has spoken with the bricklayers, who are the subcontractors, and made them aware that they need to be work, not on a Sunday. They must work to limited hours, and they've been told those hours, and it's expected within the next 2 weeks that that particular section of the care home will be completed. So that should bring some easement and some peace and quiet, because it's so close to his property. He said he feels as though it's encroaching on him, but hopefully that section of work will be completed shortly and he should see some relief. So he's happy with that at the moment, knowing that it's... Elizabeth, are you okay?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
You've done that.
I just saw something fall there.
I'm sorry. I'm digressing. I was opening up my new candle from Dizzy and having a little sniff. Sorry.
I thought you'd collapsed or something.
So hopefully that's working its way through as well.
Right, thank you. And the last one is traffic changes around the marketplace.
This originally come in as a question in relation to the old chestnut of, can we pedestrianise the marketplace, from a resident who's contacted John Lewis. But then since then, the timing seems to have worked, and that changes have been made to the marketplace in terms of a one-way system. I know some of the parking bays on the marketplace were cordoned off, and turns out shouldn't have been cordoned off. So that cordon has been taken away now, so the parking spaces are back. But has anyone been around the marketplace, seen the changes?
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I was there today, eating fish chips and mushy peas. Really nice.
Whilst
saying
driving.
that, the lady was there as I was sitting there, moving the signs and turning them round about the no parking.
Yeah.
The one-way system seems to be. She walked away, so maybe the one-way system, the signs are there. I posted in my group. The one-way system it looks like it's going that way, and I think it's going to be a really good thing.
And have they dropped the speed limit as well, Wayne?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they've dropped that down to 20.
20.
Yeah.
There's a sign there for the 20 now.
Right.
So they've turned the you're allowed to park in the bays.
Yeah.
20 mile limit is in force now.
Recommend
Signs,
not enforced.
with signs. With the signs, and the one-way system signs are there as well.
Right.
On that corner where raw here. Yeah. But yeah, there's movement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With regard to all the correspondence, I trust we've acknowledged that we've had the letters, and that we have some sympathy with the queries that have been raised, and they are being resolved.
Yes.
Councillor Shelton, Elizabeth.
Yeah, the only worry
I don't know
with
why.
the one-way system, the only thing I'm slightly hope it doesn't happen, and that is you get one of the larger delivery vehicles decide to try and get round and take out the bollards and some of the other things.
I've not heard that.
I think there's going to be some teething problems, and these things are going to happen. So
I remember many years ago there was an instance where a certain company's delivery vehicle decided to go round, and he took one of the bollards out, and he said, well, they shouldn't have put it there. I thought, well, those bollards have probably been there before you were thought of.
Well, that's past tense. I mean,
Yeah.
what we're looking for now is the future, and
Yeah.
the way things are going to be going. There are going to be people going the wrong way. There's going to be people for a number of months, weeks, and I even look right as I walk across the road with a wheat sheaf and things. I'm forever looking right, and I know there's no traffic coming. So it's going to take time, and people will. I'm sure they'll get used to it. I'm sure.
I wonder, Madam Chair, if I might just raise a point. The resident who wrote to John Lewis also wrote to me, and he copied some stuff that Tim O'Brien had done some time ago, who I don't actually know, but he's partly sort of local resident. But it's probably been overtaken by events, I think. But it brought to mind, you know, the brilliant Bingham Master Plan, and I think there was a meeting of the Bingham Growth Board recently, and I just wondered if anything had sort of developed around the idea of increasing the pedestrianisation of the square, because it seems to be a common theme I keep hearing from people. Better use of the square. I don't know if there's any sort of update we could pick up from fellow councillors who are part of the Rushcliffe, maybe.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Councillor Stockwood.
So the Brilliant Bingham, I do believe that Tim O'Brien has submitted his suggestions in previous consultations, and that included to the Brilliant Bingham scheme. Regarding pedestrianisation within the Brilliant Bingham scheme, I think there was some suggestion that it would cost between £500,000 and £2 million. And so the main thrust of action at the moment is regards to encouraging existing business to put tables and chairs onto the square, so the square is in more use. There is a business that's got a license to do that, and the business owner has recently joined the Growth Board. You've got the Bingham Community Events looking to use the twinning benches to put in more events, and there's more things going on. I think there's a little coffee van coming as well. So there's a constant push to use the square more. With regards to the fundamental changes to the fabric of the square, which would involve changing the layout and perhaps, and quite significant roadworks, all of that is not progressing at the current time due to, I think it was cost and the fact that the main thing at the moment was the first step was to introduce the short-term parking in the Rushcliffe Borough Council car parks as the main first step in the any changes to the town centre arrangements.
Thank you.
Thank you for that update. Okay.
Councillor Best.
Councillor Best.
Go ahead, Councillor Best.
Right. Out of all the comments I've heard about crossing with cycles, etc., and one way, not one councillor has mentioned the older people on scooters who cannot sometimes cross from one side to the other because there isn't a low pavement to cross to. The only safe place in Bingham to cross is the zebra crossing. And you don't always want to be that far down because the pavements aren't very wide. And during this social distancing, it has been a nightmare. I have waited as long as 20 minutes to be able to move to get forward. I know this is going to hopefully disappear soon, but I was just laughing to myself. A one-way system round the marketplace, ha ha ha. Because you can't get across now. So I just thought I'd give you a laugh because nobody's thought about people that are getting older, disabled, not always old, but are disabled. And we have very little space for scooters nowadays.
Right.
And another thing is, could you guarantee with a query of mine, are people allowed to cycle up and down the precinct?
No, they're not. No.
I got such a mouthful, and they weren't children either. I couldn't find any signs to back me up.
It's
Thank
a
you for that.
pity. Sorry.
Sorry, who's speaking? Oh, Councillor Stapleton.
I just say it's a pity that the traffic enforcer, the chap that goes around giving tickets and things, maybe stand there. Maybe has he got any power that he could say, you know, hey, get off your bike? I don't know, but somebody with a uniform, I think, maybe is the way to go, because no one's going to listen to a member of what they think is the public. If that makes any sense.
I can just give a little bit of background to that. I've spoken to PCSO Wesson before. We've had complaints about this numerous times over the years. The signs get taken down every time the owners of Eaton Place put them back up, they get removed. But the only body really with any power to ask them to dismount is the police. And when he has quite a number of complaints, he does come and he does try and get them to not do so. And he has come in for CCTV over the years of people doing it. But yeah, it would be down to the police. And unfortunately, the signs keep getting removed.
I've got a suggestion. How about we electrify them so they get bloody shock every time they take them out?
There we are, a radical solution there.
You could have.
Chair, I think Councillor Best has raised two very important points, and perhaps
We'll put that to the vote. I vote for that. I put that to the vote. I'll vote for that.
Right, I think we'll take them to the county councillor to make sure that in any temporary measures that are being done at the present time, they ensure that accessibility for all is considered at all times, and we look again at the issue of enforcement of no cycling in the precinct.
Absolutely agree.
Thank you.
We need somebody to talk back to them when they touch them.
Can I ask you to suspend standing orders, please?
Yes, I'm sure everybody would be in agreement with that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Thumbs up and everything, nodding heads.
Was it
Okay.
to install the bike racks on the precinct?
County council, yes.
It seems a bit hypocritical that you're asking people to go and park their bikes there, and what you've provided, not you as Bingham Town Council. So it sends out mixed messages. Now I know it's the teenagers, let's say, who are causing the issues, but it does send out messages.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. Let's say the cycle.
Push the bike, don't ride it.
Yes.
There you go.
Push it through.
Mhm.
And, you know, the actual precinct, there's bits of land that's Rushcliffe's, bits of land that's the owners, and bits that belong to the county. And obviously it had to go on the county bit because it's their responsibility. So thank you for that.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Sorry.
I was just going to say apologies, Madam Chair. It's probably not appropriate to bring it into a general conversation, but it is a personal bugbear of mine. I work up in the city, and when I come out the Broadmarsh Centre, constantly people are riding their bikes down there when they just shouldn't be doing it. I just don't think it's really acceptable, even though the bike racks are there. And the other place where I notice it in Bingham is that little lane that runs beside the church, where you're not really supposed to ride a bike along there either, you know, but people constantly do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've had that myself. It's okay. It's okay. We are at the end of the agenda. I thank you all for all those comments. And I would just reiterate, I would like letters to go to all these, replies to go to these letters that have been sent in. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, can I just add something?
Yes, you're a guest, aren't you? Suspend standing orders again.
Yeah, I was pleased to see a lot of nodding heads listening to Councillor Jane Best when she was talking about mobility scooters and that. And I will obviously pass that on to the county officers who who've obviously not thought about that as part of the opening up the high street activity. So it was a very good point, Jane, to bring up, and I'll certainly pass that on. Sorry?
You don't realise how difficult it is till you need one.
Yes, of course. Yes. Thank you.
And I've got a licence to be on the road on mine, but not everybody will do that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of them seem to go a bit fast as well. Anyway. Can I thank you all for your attendance this evening, guests as well, and I should be closing the meeting at 20:01. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you all.
Good
Thank you,
evening.
Madam
Good
Chair.
evening.
Good night.